good memories, because we're going to be thinking a little bit of what we did last week. And first of all, tell me this. Here, do you know what a contest is? Do you know what a competition is? Yes, to find out who's the best. And do you like football? Yeah. So football is a little bit like a competition, isn't it? It is a competition because the best team will win. Okay, so what class are you in? P5, is it? P4? P4. Okay, so let's say the P4s of St. Finian's Primary School, we're going to have a football match against the P4s of Donegal Primary School. Would that be fair? Yeah, P4s against P4s. That's kind of fair competition, isn't it? But what about if the P4s of Donegal Primary School, we're going to have a football match, a competition with the P1s of St. Finian's Primary School? Would that be fair? Big P4s against little P1s. Would that be fair? Not really. Here, tell me this. Are you good at football? Okay. So do you think you could take on by yourself, could you play a football match representing St. Finian's Primary School? You by yourself, could you play against all of the P4s in Donegal Primary School? Would that be fair? No. But what about, do you think you could play a football match against the P1s? Just you, by yourself. You do? You think that would work? But there's going to be a whole lot of them. And let me think, I don't really do football, but there's 11 people in a football team, am I right? Got that right. So one person, you think that one person, a P4, could play against 11 P1s. You might be right, I don't know. But today's story is about a contest that seemed like it wasn't very fair. Do you remember last week we started talking about Elijah, the prophet? And Elijah went to King Ahab and he told King Ahab that there wasn't going to be any rain until God said so. There wasn't going to be any rain, that means the crops wouldn't grow, there wouldn't be any food, there was going to be a famine. But even during all of that time, we saw last week how God looked after Elijah. God made sure that Elijah had enough food all the way through the drought. And God also looked after the widow, do you remember? The widow who had no food left in her cupboard, we did that last week. And God looked after her and her son as well, because she was prepared to put God first. She baked bread for Elijah, and that was putting Elijah and God first. So God looked after them. Now our story today is 3 years later. So there's been a drought for 3 whole years. God's been looking after Elijah, like we said. But now God said to Elijah, now I'm going to send rain again. But first of all, I want you to go back and speak to King Ahab. Now, Elijah did what God told him. But remember, King Ahab and Queen Jezebel wanted to kill Elijah. But yet God said, I want you to go and talk to King Ahab. Would you be brave enough to do that? Not sure I would. But Elijah trusted God and he went to speak to King Ahab. And when he got there, Ahab looked at him and said, Elijah, it's you. You're the troublemaker for these people of Israel. Elijah said, not me. I'm not the troublemaker. King Ahab, it's you that's the troublemaker. You are the one who abandoned God's commands. You stopped following God. And you have tried to get these people to worship a false god, the god of Baal. So it's you. And you are the reason why God sent the drought. But Elijah said, I want you to do something. I'm going to go to Mount Carmel, big mountain. He said, I want you to bring all of the people to Mount Carmel. And I want you to bring 450, that's a lot of people, isn't it? And this is extra. I want you to bring 450 prophets of Baal. So all people gathered at Mount Carmel, and 450 of the prophets of Baal. And when they all were there, Elijah said, now, I'm here today as the only prophet of the Lord God, the only prophet there's left. But here today we have 450 prophets of Baal. Let's all build an altar and make a sacrifice to our gods. But what I want us all to do is I want you to build your altar, and I will build my altar. We'll get the sacrifice ready, but we won't set it on fire. Then we're going to pray to our gods, and the God who answers by sending fire, he is God. He will be proved to be God. And the people said, yes, that's a good plan. So the 450 prophets of Baal got together and they started building their altar. They got a sacrifice all ready. Just like Elijah said, they didn't set fire to it. Then they started to pray to their God, the false God of Baal. Now Baal was a statue. But they were praying and saying, oh Baal, hear our prayers. Send us fire, send us fire. They shouted and they danced and they sang and they worshipped Baal for hours. Nothing happened. No fire, not even a spark. After many hours, Elijah started to tease them and he said, maybe Baal's asleep. Maybe you need to shout a bit louder. Maybe he just can't hear you, so shout louder. And all 450 of them shouted as loud as they could, Baal, hear our prayer. Answer us and send fire. They danced some more and they sang. Nothing happened. Then it was Elijah's turn. Elijah built his altar. Remember, there's only one of him against 450 of all of them. He built his altar, he prepared the sacrifice, and he stood up to pray. And he said, Lord God, today answer my prayer by sending fire. Let it be known that you alone are God, the only true God, and that I am your servant. Answer my prayer, send fire so that the people will know that you are God and that you want them to turn back and worship only you. What happened? Immediately there was fire. Fire came from heaven, burnt up the sacrifice, burnt all the stones, the wood, and I forgot to say, Elijah had poured water all over the sacrifice so that it was difficult for it to burn, but it still burnt. The people could see that the Lord God, he is the only God. And they shouted, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. They had learned that day that there's only one God. So you see, the contest didn't seem fair. There was only one of Elijah. There was 450 prophets of Baal. But the difference was Elijah had God on his side. So no matter what your problem is, God is on your side. And especially if you're trying to do something for God, Elijah was trying to show the people that the Lord God is the only God that we should worship. He was trying to tell the people about God's love for them. And sometimes maybe in school it might seem that you're the only one. It might seem that you're the only one who knows about God. But Elijah wasn't afraid to stand up and tell the people because he knew that God was on his side. And with God on his side, that's where his strength and his bravery came from. It wasn't his own, it was through God. So we're going to sing the same song as we sang last week. How could we sing anything else? Our God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing our God cannot do. So, because we have some other children here today, they don't really speak English, so we're going to just show them the actions, okay? So it's our God is so big, so strong, and so mighty, there's nothing our God cannot do. Our God is so big, so strong, and so mighty, there's nothing our God cannot do. The mountains are his, the rivers are his, the stars are his handiwork too. Our God is so big, so strong, and so mighty, there's nothing our God cannot do. And here we go.
Our God is so big, so strong, and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do. Our God is so big, so strong, and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do. The mountains are his, the rivers are his, the stars are his handiwork too. Our God is so big, so strong, and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do. so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do.